Hello everyone, Lyn here, welcoming you to Priviso Live, episode 32, your source for information security, risk and ICT legislation.
Hello listeners, Stephen here. Some interesting developments this week that relate to episodes 14 and 15 of our podcast. It sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi novel, but it's happening right now, beneath the bustling streets of New York.
That's right. Forget what you think you know about the internet. We're talking about a quantum internet, and it's not some distant dream. A Brooklyn-based company called Connect has built and operated a functioning quantum network running underground in the Big Apple.
To revisit our earlier discussion, traditional internet sends information as bits, either a 0 or a 1. Quantum internet, on the other hand, uses qubits. These are mind-bending because they can be both 0 and 1 at the same time thanks to a principle called superposition.
And that's just the beginning. Another key quantum phenomenon they're leveraging is entanglement. Imagine two qubits linked together in such a way that when you change the state of one, the other instantly changes its state, no matter how far apart they are.
Instant communication? That has huge implications. How does quantum entanglement play into enhancing security?
This is where it gets really interesting, because any attempt to eavesdrop on entangled qubits would inevitably disturb their delicate quantum state, making the intrusion immediately detectable. This could lead to absolutely unhackable communication networks. Think about secure financial transactions, top-secret government communications. The possibilities are immense.
So Connect has actually demonstrated this in a real-world scenario, running under the streets of New York?
They have. Their network spans several locations in Brooklyn and Manhattan, utilizing existing fiber optic cables. This is a significant step towards making quantum internet a practical reality, not just a theoretical concept. They've shown that they can generate, distribute, and measure these entangled qubits in a real-world environment.
That's incredible. It sounds like we're on the cusp of a major technological leap. For those not familiar with this topic, I recommend listening to our earlier episodes on quantum cryptography.
In another news item related to today's topic, the cellular network MTN has admitted to experiencing a security breach and is taking steps to mitigate any potential harm.
It's always difficult to deal with a cyber breach. Having been through the experience a number of times, I understand management's caution about how this is presented.
However, it's crucial for MTN users to stay alert for any suspicious activity on their accounts. This includes unexpected charges, unusual data usage, or any phishing attempts via SMS or email.
MTN has not yet released specific details about the nature of the attack or the extent of the potential impact. However, they are advising customers to change their passwords as a precautionary measure.
This is a good reminder for all of us to regularly update our passwords, not just for our mobile accounts, but for all online services. Use strong, unique passwords and be cautious about clicking on links from unknown sources.
We'll continue to monitor this story and provide updates as they become available.
And speaking of cellular services, today we're diving into a question that's on the minds of millions of smartphone users. When it comes to security, is Android or iOS the better choice?
It's a classic debate, isn't it? Both operating systems have their staunch supporters, and when security comes up, the arguments can get pretty heated. Let's unpack the relative strengths and weaknesses of each.
And to pin my flag to the mast, I have always been an Apple advocate.
And I use Android, so we traverse both sides of this divide. It is a very personal choice, isn't it?
Absolutely. Let's start with iOS, Apple's mobile operating system. What are its key security advantages?
One of the biggest strengths of iOS is Apple's tight control over its ecosystem. They design the hardware, they develop the software, and they curate the App Store very carefully. This vertical integration allows them to implement security measures from the ground up and maintain a high level of consistency.
So the walled garden approach, as some call it.
Exactly. Every app in the App Store undergoes a rigorous review process before it's made available to users. This significantly reduces the chances of malware and other malicious software making its way onto iOS devices.
That makes sense. And what about updates? I often hear that iOS devices get updates faster and more consistently.
That's another significant advantage. Because Apple controls the hardware and software, they can push out updates simultaneously to almost all compatible devices. This means users are more likely to be running the latest security patches, which is crucial in staying protected against emerging threats.
So, a more controlled environment and faster updates. Those sound like pretty strong security pillars. Are there any security weaknesses associated with iOS?
While iOS is generally considered very secure, no system is foolproof. One potential weakness, ironically stemming from its tight control, is that it can be more difficult for security researchers to independently audit the system for vulnerabilities. The closed-source nature means less public scrutiny.
That's an interesting point. Less transparency could potentially hide vulnerabilities. What else?
Historically, when vulnerabilities are found in iOS, they can sometimes be quite significant because they affect a large number of devices simultaneously. While Apple is usually quick to address them, the impact can be widespread initially. Also, while the App Store review process is strong, determined attackers can sometimes find ways to slip malicious apps through, though it's less common than on Android.
That's my phone you're talking about, Stephen. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about Android. What are its main security strengths?
Android's open-source nature is often cited as a security strength. The argument is that with more eyes on the code, the wider developer community will more likely discover and address vulnerabilities.
That makes sense in theory. More cooks in the kitchen, so to speak.
Precisely. Android also offers users greater customization and control over their devices, which can be seen as a security advantage for those who are tech-savvy and know how to configure their settings securely.
And what about the weaknesses? That's often where the criticisms of Android's security lie.
The fragmentation of the Android ecosystem is a major security challenge. Unlike Apple, Android is used by a multitude of manufacturers, each with their own update schedules and sometimes their own customizations. This means that many Android devices, especially older or budget models, may not receive timely security updates, leaving them vulnerable to known threats.
That's a significant concern. Running an outdated operating system is like leaving your front door unlocked.
Exactly. Another key weakness is the Google Play Store. While it has improved significantly, historically it has been more susceptible to hosting malicious apps compared to the App Store. The sheer volume of apps and a less stringent initial review process have contributed to this.
So, the openness that can be a strength can also be a vulnerability in terms of malware.
Correct. Users also have the option to sideload apps from outside the Play Store, which, while offering flexibility, significantly increases the risk of installing malware if users aren't careful about the sources they trust.
What about manufacturer-specific security features? Do they play a significant role?
Some Android manufacturers do implement their own security enhancements, which can be beneficial. However, the effectiveness and consistency of these features vary greatly between brands and even different models within the same brand. This inconsistency adds another layer of complexity to the Android security landscape.
So it sounds like both operating systems have their trade-offs. iOS prioritizes a tightly controlled ecosystem and consistent updates, while Android offers more openness but faces challenges with fragmentation and a more open App Store.
That's a good summary. Ultimately, the more secure operating system often depends on the user's behavior and how well they manage their device. A user who diligently keeps their device updated, downloads apps only from official stores, and is cautious about permissions is going to be more secure, regardless of the operating system.
That's a crucial point. User awareness and responsible digital habits are paramount.
Absolutely. Both Apple and Google are constantly working to improve the security of their platforms. We see regular updates and new security features being introduced on both sides. The landscape is constantly evolving.
So there's no definitive winner in the security debate.
Not really. Both have strengths and weaknesses. iOS offers a more locked down and consistently updated experience, which can appeal to users who prioritize ease of use and security without needing to delve into technical details. Android provides more flexibility but requires users to manage their security proactively.
That's a great way to put it. Ultimately, the best choice depends on individual needs and how comfortable a user is managing their device's security.
Ultimately, I think it's an academic discussion. Most users leave it to the manufacturers to solve these problems and choose the platform based on desirability and cost, not security.
That's it from us for this episode. If you enjoy what we do, please recommend us to others. Word of mouth is a strong driver of podcast growth.
If you want to hear more of the same, don't forget to subscribe or like our channel to receive future episodes. You can find us on all major podcast channels, including Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. As always, this is sponsored by Priviso Consulting, your partner when trust matters. Until next time, stay safe.